Experiments are used increasingly widely in econometrics. In many applications, however, they are not an option because they are unethical, impossible to execute satisfactorily, too time consuming, or prohibitively expensive. Even with non experimental data, the concept of an ideal randomized controlled experiment is important because it provides a definition of a causal effect. Prediction, forecasting, and causality. Although the first three questions in section 1.1 concern causal effects, the fourth, forecasting, the uh, growth rate of gross domestic product, does not. Forecasting is a special case of what statisticians and econometricians call prediction, which is using information on some variables to make a statement about the value of another variable. A forecast is a prediction about the value of a variable in the future, like gross domestic product growth next year. You do not need to know the causal relationship to make a good prediction. A good way to predict whether it is raining is to observe whether pedestrians are using umbrellas, but the act of using an umbrella does not cause it to rain. When one has a small number of predictors and the data do not evolve over time, the multiple regression methods of Part 2 can provide reliable predictions. Predictions can often be improved. However, if there is a large number of candidate predictors, methods for using many predictors are covered in Chapter 14. Forecasts, that is, predictions about the future, use data on variables that evolve over time, which introduces new challenges and opportunities. As we will see in Chapter 15, multiple regression analysis allows us to quantify historical relationships to check whether those relationships have been stable over time, to make quantitative forecasts about the future, and to assess the accuracy of those forecasts. 1.3 Data, sources, and types. In econometrics, data come from one of two sources: experiments or non experimental observations of the world. This text examines both experimental and non-experimental data sets. Experimental versus observational data. Experimental data come from experiments designed to evaluate a treatment or policy or to investigate a causal effect. For example, the state of Tennessee financed a large randomized controlled experiment examining class size in the 1980s. In that experiment, which we examine in Chapter 13, thousands of students were randomly assigned to classes of different sizes for several years and were given standardized tests annually. The Tennessee class size experiment cost millions of dollars and required the ongoing cooperation of many administrators, parents, and teachers over several years. Because real-world experiments with human subjects are difficult to administer and to control, they have flaws relative to ideal randomized controlled experiments. Moreover, in some circumstances, experiments are not only expensive and difficult to administer, but also unethical. Would it be ethical to offer randomly selected teenagers inexpensive cigarettes to see how many they buy? Because of these financial, practical, and ethical problems, experiments in economics are relatively rare. Instead, most economic data are obtained by observing real world behavior.